All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Niners bounce back in Jacksonville with a convincing win. We're going to do the pregame show on the Krug Show on YouTube, but just a little video breaking this whole thing down. Great performance by the Niners. There was so much talk about Steve Wilks being on the sideline, and I don't think that made a huge difference. I really don't. I think the bigger difference was Ambry Thomas coming in for Isaiah Oliver. The coverage was tight. They brought a lot of hats to Etienne in the run game. They made Trevor Lawrence play quarterback. They took away Evan Ingram, and then they teed off. They got a lot of pressure. They got a bunch of sacks. They then got a bunch of picks, and the whole thing worked out really well. Purdy made a dangerous pass to Ayuk on that first drive from the 13-yard line. It looked like Purdy was going to run, but he found Ayuk, threw late back in the middle, but this time he didn't pay. It was a questionable decision, but it was a great touchdown, and the Niners jumped on top 7-0 early to cap a 4-play, 57-yard drive in a little bit over 2 minutes. Second drive for Jacksonville, Dre Greenlaw had a big hit on Etienne. Fonga had a solo tackle on Evan Ingram on second down, and then Bosa and Hargrave had a combined sack of Lawrence on third down, and they forced Jacksonville to punt. So the Niners would get it back, and on their second drive, they would move it down the field. And on a 3rd and 4 play from the 14, Oluokun, who's a great player, sacked Brock Purdy on a linebacker blitz. It's unfortunate because Debo was wide open. It would have been 14-0. Instead, Jake Moody came on, kicked a field goal to cap a 10-play, 41-yard drive, 39-yard field goal for Moody. So then Jacksonville gets back on their third possession, and when they got to, they moved it down the field a little. They moved right around to midfield. Then Bosa batted down a pass on 2nd and 8, and then Lawrence threw incomplete on 3rd and 8, and Jacksonville was forced to punt. 49ers would get it on their third possession, and they couldn't do anything with it. They were forced to punt as well. Then we got into the second quarter, and Jacksonville on their fourth possession, Etienne took a huge hit from Fred Warner on the first play. Mooney Ward had a big hit on Etienne as well on a pass play that fell incomplete on first down from the 41. And then Bosa and Chase Young combined on a sack, and for Bosa, he forced the fumble and recovered the fumble, and the Niners got a turnover. That was the first drive of the second quarter. Jacksonville, by the way, had 11 yards, total of 11 yards in that first quarter. So the Niner defense really came to play in the first half and turned off Jacksonville's offense altogether, and then the defense really started to make plays. Niners on their fourth possession were forced to punt. It was derailed by a penalty against Trent Williams for holding. Jacksonville in the second quarter would put together a 14-play drive that went 80 yards in 7.5 minutes. But Mooney Ward made a really nice play on Christian Kirk on 3rd and 3 from the 19, forced a Brandon McManus field goal. McManus kicks the 37-yard field goal, and it's 10-7 49ers. Now the Niners would get the ball on their fifth possession. This would be the final possession before halftime, and they took it with 4 minutes and 11 seconds. They put in their 4-minute offense, and they took it from the 28 all the way down the field. Really, Jake Moody they'd settle for a Jake Moody 35-yard field goal. So it's 13-3 49ers at the half. Niners in the first half averaged 4.7 yards per carry. They held Jacksonville to 3.3 yards per carry. The Niners were +1 in turnovers against a team that takes the ball over or takes the ball away. Purdy was 11 of 17, so he completed 65% in that first half for 130, a touchdown, 1 sack, and a 107.5 quarterback rating. And as Shanahan loves to do, he loves to score into the half and out of the half, and sure enough, it happened. It was a 2-play, 75-yard drive. This was probably Purdy's best play. He double pumped to Kittle, threw off his back foot. People who say he doesn't have much of an arm, he got a lot on it. It was a 66-yard touchdown pass. He had Kittle isolated against the linebacker Devin Lloyd. It was the longest throw of Purdy's career, and he had to double pump it. So he was on his heels, double pumped it, kind of leaning backwards, and he still threw it to Kittle who ran the rest of the way for the touchdown. The route was on at that point. That made it 20-3. Cleveland Farrell had a sack of Lawrence on the first play of the Jaguars' next drive, and the Jaguars' sixth drive ended when Lawrence was pressured by Bosa, and he threw a pass to Bigsby, and Bigsby tipped it up in the air, and Hufanga picked it off. So Niners couldn't do anything with it. They were forced to punt. And then Jacksonville on their next drive would take it from their own 15-yard line. They'd move it down the field, and on second and goal, Lawrence threw to Kirk, and Ambry Thomas forced the fumble and then returned it 91 yards for a touchdown. The Niners at this point had a really costly penalty as a bunch of guys left their bench, and it really hurt them because the ball was set back on their own 19-yard line. But Purdy looked good on this drive. He found Ayuk for 20 yards on 3rd and 9. He found Kittle down the middle on 2nd and 9 from the 42. And then Debo scored on a 23-yard end around to cap a 7-play, 81-yard drive and make it 27-3 49ers. Jacksonville on their 8th possession would throw another pick. Lawrence, they went for it on 4th down. Lawrence got pressured by Hargrave, who almost sacked him, and he threw a ball right to Fred Warner for an interception. And then the Niners put it away. Purdy found Juszczyk on the next drive on 2nd and 7 from the 22 for another touchdown to cap a 3-play drive to make it 34-3. And then at the end there, Sam Darnold came in on that final drive, and the Niners desperately tried to get CMC his record-breaking touchdown. He scored a touchdown in 17 straight games, tied with Lenny Moore for the NFL record. He was trying to set the NFL record. It was not to be, and that's how this thing really comes to a close. 49ers win this going away. 34-3. It was a game they had to have. We're going to talk about it next on the post-game show. Join us. It'll be myself, Kev, JD, Baller, Danny, Rye, Damon Bruce is going to stop by, and we want to hear from you as well. Niners, in my opinion, had to have this game. It wasn't like they were going to be mathematically eliminated if they didn't have it, but 4 losses in a row was going to derail any chance they had of hosting the NFC Championship game and doing the kinds of things that they think they want to do this year, which is be in that championship game and be in the Super Bowl. Now they're back in proper footing. They get the Buccaneers next week, and then it's Seattle on Thanksgiving up there. Then it's a trip to Philly. Then it's Seattle back at Levi's, and the rest of the schedule coming up with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens making an appearance on Christmas night at Levi's Stadium. So huge win for the 49ers. Once again, good all-around win, team win. Wishnowsky had a punt that was downed on the 1. The defense coverage was really tight. I thought the big difference was Ambry Thomas in for Oliver, but Hufanga played a much better game. He had been really playing some subpar football, in my opinion, and I thought he bounced back. Kinlaw had a good game. Warner had a good game. Greenlaw looked more rested. Chase Young had a half sack and made an impact. And the Niner coverage was tight. They were better against the run. They got Lawrence into passing situations, and then they teed off. So great win for the 49ers, and we're going to talk about it next on The Krug Show. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.